people.
Oh, that's what I was just going to go. Go ahead.
Speaking of hating on black people. Recently, folks, and you may have seen it or you may not have, depending on what type of news accounts that you follow. But there's a man by the name of Jann Wenner. Jann, Jann, and like Jann, that's a girl's name. It is, but his name is Jann. Jann Wenner is the co-founder of Rolling Stone magazine. You don't read Rolling Stone magazine, that's a shame, because Rolling Stone has done some amazing articles and interviews since its inception, right? Those deep, hard articles that you really want to see. There was I'm honestly, what I'm thinking about is Tupac. Like, I'm thinking about him being on the cover of Rolling Stone and that interview that's there. So this man, he stepped down from Rolling Stone a few years ago.
And he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board too.
Yeah, he's on the board of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is important. So hold on, kids. He has a book coming out. He already had another book, and he has a new book that's coming out that is I forget the name of now I'm I gotta remember what the hell the name of the book is. But essentially it's about the masters of rock and roll. Right. And he's going through people that he has interviewed over the years that he really felt encompassed the zeitgeist, right? So zeitgeist, for those that don't know, zeitgeist is the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time. So an example of that is Woodstock is a part of the zeitgeist of the 60s, right? Woodstock, that music festival encompasses what the 60s was about. I could also think about Michael Jackson and moonwalking and how that was such an important part of the zeitgeist of the 80s. And even, hell, the 95 Source Awards, important zeitgeist. It really, it defines the spirit and the mood of the 90s. Yeah. So he writes this book again, he's sharing some interviews with people that he's interviewed over the years, some heavy hitters, right? Like it ain't just some random person that I know or whatever, right? So, but he did an interview with the New York Times. I love the New York Times because the New York Times will not back the fuck down if they don't like what the hell you're saying. And that's period. It's always like that. So don't think it's just for this thing. So we're getting to I'm like, okay, so let me bring about this point. So New York Times guy's name is David. He asked Jann, he says there are 7 subjects in the new book, 7 white guys. In the introduction, you acknowledge that performers of color and women performers are just not in your zeitgeist. He said, which to my mind is not plausible for you. Janis Joplin, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Nicks, Stevie Wonder, the list keeps going on, but they're not in your zeitgeist. What do you think is the deeper explanation for why you interviewed the subjects you interviewed and not other subjects, right? So New York Times wants to know how the hell you don't have not one black person, not one woman. Like, so he didn't even just say, oh, I'm not going to deal with the black people. He didn't even include women that are in there. And the guy, so Jann says, when I was referring to the zeitgeist, I was referring to black performers, not to the female performers, okay? Just to get that accurate. The selection was not a deliberate selection. It was kind of intuitive over the years. It just fell together. The people had to meet a couple of, criteria, but it was just kind of my personal interest or love of them. So insofar as the women,
that could have been it. That could have, before you go further, Stacey, that could have been it. Like he could have stopped right there and be like, that was just my personal interest with it.
My personal interest. You could have stopped there. Oh, but no. People like to keep talking. So insofar as the women, just none of them were as articulate enough on this intellectual level. New York Times guy says, wait. What? He says, stop it. You're telling me Joni Mitchell is not articulate enough on an intellectual level? I'm going to let you rephrase that. New York Times is trying to get the guy to be like, look, okay, rethink what you just said, right? You may have said it wrong. I'm going to let you rephrase. Let's clean it up.
Clarify it.
Let's clarify it, right? Like maybe I said it wrong. So yeah, he doubles down. So he goes into, he's like, thank you. And he says the people I interviewed were kind of philosophers of rock. Black artists, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, which is what the title of the book is, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just didn't articulate at that level. And the New York Times guy says, well, how do you know if you didn't give him a chance? And then Jann says, because I read interviews with them, I listened to their music. I mean, look at what Pete Townsend was writing about, or Jagger, or any of them. They were deep things about a particular generation, a particular spirit, and a particular attitude about rock and roll. Not that the others weren't, but these were the ones that could really articulate it. So again, New York Times is like, don't you think it's actually more to do with your own interest as a fan and the listener than anything particular about the artist? I think the problem is when you start saying things like they or these artists can't, like it's really a reflection of what you're interested in more than an ability or inability of the artist, of the part of the artist, isn't it? And then the guy, again, still doubling down. It's what I was interested in, like just for public relations sake, maybe I should have gone and found one Black and one woman artist to include here that didn't measure up to the same historical standard just to avert this kind of criticism, which I get. I had a chance to do that. Maybe I'm old fashioned and I didn't give a fuck or whatever. I wish in retrospect, I could have interviewed Marvin Gaye. Maybe he'd have been that guy. Maybe Otis Redding, had he lived, would have been the guy. What year did Otis Redding die?
70 something. Because like it was like a year period where everybody died at one time. Hold on, Otis Redding died in 67. Sorry, 67.
So since 1967, there hasn't been one Black artist that you felt.
But the death thing, though, is some bullshit because John Lennon is in there. He died in like, what, 84?
Well, people idolize the Beatles. Like
I know, but I'm saying, but like John Lennon is a part of the book, and he said like basically I couldn't interview. He said, "Oh dang, Marvin Gaye was dead. I couldn't get with him. I couldn't get with Otis Redding. He dead." But John Lennon in there, he died 84.
And I get it. Maybe
Marvin Gaye died in the 80s.
That's right.
Exactly. So like, if you are really trying to create this again, it's when you use the term rock and roll, because a lot of people argue about this, about rock and roll should not include R&B. It shouldn't include the blues. It shouldn't include all these other genres. They only want it to be rock and roll. Okay, if that's what you want it to be, if you only want to talk about masters of rock and roll, then your book is fine, essentially, right? Now, there may have been some women that could have been included in there, but if you just want to say this is the master, these are who I think are the masters of rock and roll, then go for it, right? But there's no way that you can do this and try to say it's the masters of this whole the genre as extended as it is, and then but there's not one woman, not one Black person at all, period. Like, and okay, so, and maybe you didn't get, and I think these are just interviews that he's already done over the years. And then I think that it's a collection of those interviews, right?
You should just say that.
That's fine. And like, and that's, again, that's okay. Your personal preference is your personal preference, period. Like you are entitled to that. You have that ability to do that. I'm sure that there are other journalists out there that have made books that's a collection of interviews of their favorite interviews over the years. That happens, right? That's a privilege you get as a journalist. You've got to meet all these amazing people, but these people were the ones for this specific thing that I want to talk about. They really I feel like they captured this thing. So the idea that you don't have a Stevie on there, you don't even have Stevie Wonder on there, if nothing else, right? Like there's no controversy there. Like even if you're worried about controversy, I feel like Mick Jagger or
Jimi Hendrix, or Jimi Hendrix,
right? Right, but if you feel like
because Tina Turner was the second person on the cover of Rolling Stone, for the record, too. People don't know that. I'm just putting that out there. She's the second ever person on the cover of Rolling Stone. Second cover.
And just know that Jann Wenner is a white, and the David at the New York Times is also a white. And David was like, "Yeah, no, this is you sound dumb." Like, and I love that. I love when an interviewer doesn't back down. When an interviewer is like, "Wait, what? Like, what's the there's a clip that keeps going around with the boy that's like that he was it was a school in Florida that wanted him to come and they was gonna pay him.
With Big Boogie.
That's his name.
Yeah.
And
He turned down $5 million.
$5 million to play drums at some school in Florida. And the interviewer is like, wait, how much did they?
Yeah, I turned it down.
It was Bootleg Kev. It was Bootleg Kev is the name of the show. It's Bootleg Kev is the podcast.
He's like, so wait, what? And you're like, dude, because I'm trying to move on. And he's like, but no. But wait, no. You said they offered you how much money?
And then he said, yeah, it's the NIL money. Like I was like, they don't give NIL money out to the band.
Nobody knows who was a starting flutist.
Yeah, he was too high.
Right, not flutist, flautist. Nobody knows.
Have we ever seen him come back out? Like I've never seen this artist ever again. Is he like?
I only
he was just here at the Chaffetz. He's on tour with Moneybagg Yo. So he's like, yeah, in that little realm.
Out of my pay grade. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, Big Steve Thompson, you still recording? Yes. You ain't even here.
I just don't understand why the Jann, like he could just be like, those are the people I liked, and some of my favorite interviews from my time at Rolling Stone.
Done. That's it. But you made a whole introduction talking about that the performers of color and women were just not in your. And what I'll say is this: like, we all get into our own like little music, or just we have our tunnel vision, things that you're really paying attention to, right? So I know what music I listen to right now, what types of movies that I watch in my purview, right? What I'm paying attention to, and that doesn't count for everybody. Right? Like, no, like I sit there and it's still Throwback Wednesday in my car. I'm still listening to 90s R&B. That's what I think about all the time. That's what I'm listening to. So if I made a book, these are my favorite songs. Not these are the only songs written in the last 30 years is worth a damn. Like, no, these are my songs that I like. This is what I care about. And that's fine. Right. And if you buy the book, this is what Stacey cared about. And that's why she wrote this book. This is not me trying to define a generation through this work. And the idea like this 70-something-year-old white man has decided that Black people and women, like I love that he says, I guess I could have found a Black. I could have gone and found one Black and one woman artist to include here that didn't measure up the same historical standard.
Yeah, he said, like, I could have got a nigga.
I could have got a nigga if I wanted.
They made him step down from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, "Oh no, we're not going to deal with."
And they was like, how many Black people we got to get on this pipeline? That's the youth in the future. Oh no. We running out of these rock bands. You know that, right? Like for this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He is 20 years ago. If he'd have said this, he'd have still been on the board.
You think so?
It's the culture. It's as time goes on, we become more tolerant and less tolerant of things. And I'm not going to say 10 years ago, 2013, there'd have been.
He would have had to issue an apology.
He did issue an apology, kind of, but it's still not really an apology. But 2013, he'd still been on the board. I think
in 10 years, that same comment is flipped.
Oh, it's absolutely flipped.
2033. Don't think about that shit, nigga. Don't even think about it.
Like that's it. Like we become more tolerant and less tolerant. And while I applaud some of the things that we don't tolerate anymore, there are also some shit that I'm like, okay, y'all need to let that go.
Well, like what?
What's some shit that they need to fucking let go? I can't think anything off the top of my head. Sometimes there are just situations where somebody says something and you're like, what the fuck he meant.
Yeah.
Like, don't
they twist people's words.
Like, what the hell they meant. Like, you don't make this into something that it's not. Like, you're making it worse at this point. Like, the backlash is more is more detrimental than what was actually said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then, like I said, but then there's other shit where it's like, oh my God, when was it ever okay to say
that? Like never. It was never okay to say that.
Like, what kind of Archie Bunker shit is that? So, yeah, that's the. So, I mean, I wasn't going to buy the book anyway, but I'm interested in seeing what the sales do for it. How the sales are, because controversy sells. So sometimes with all of this going on, is you gonna sell more, you're gonna sell less, whatever, right? It's anything can happen.
Yeah, I don't even fuck them. Yeah, that's just plain and simple. Last topic. Did y'all even watch these VMAs?
Nah, I just saw it was they added like an Afrobeat category.
Oh, that's a category?
I must say, I think they added it this year.
They added a K-pop one. So let's say it came on at 7. I tuned in about 7:20, and I turned in just in time to see Cardi and Meg perform Bongos.
Okay.
So that was that. I don't really have an opinion on Bongos.
It's I mean it's all right. I mean, whatever.
I don't think it's a good song. And it's not because of the raunchiness. I just don't.
No, it's just feel like it's not a good song in general.
I don't think it's a good song. And also I know that Megan is tall, but I didn't realize how tall or how short Cardi was if they were standing next to each other. Cardi had a good wig on though, and I wish I knew where she got it from. But like I said, I saw the video for Bongos, and then they performed it, and then I tuned in. The only reason that I knew it was coming was because they were talking about NSYNC. They're like, so I'm like, oh shit, are they gonna do a reunion tour? And I had just looked at NSYNC performing Pop on the VMAs, and with Michael Jackson coming out. I probably watched it maybe like 2 days before they announced that NSYNC was going to be there. So I'm like, oh shit, did I miss NSYNC? They're like, oh, they did was just present. Oh, fuck that then. So yeah, I can't. Like I said, I know I saw that they had added the K-pop category, but MTV hasn't played videos in a very, 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 very long time. We know this, but at this point, what the hell are we still doing this for?
Yeah, what's the point of the VMAs?
Why are we still doing this? Like, people are not making videos. Now, you want to do a video show, YouTube should do it.
Yeah, Vivo, YouTube.
Like, because real shit, who's playing video? Like MTV, you have to have a whole separate cable subscription to get MTV. Do they still have MTV Jams?
That's a BET Jam. It's BET Jams and BET Soul now.
You see what I'm saying? So, and it was what VH1 Jams and VH1 Soul. So y'all ain't even hosting videos no fucking more. Like, I gotta have a whole separate cable subscription to do that shit. But if you tell me it's a new video out, I'm going to YouTube.
Yep, it's YouTube.
Like, that's
when that Bongos is out. I was like, I ran straight to YouTube. Like, if it's anything like wow.
When you're talking about streams for your music video, it's YouTube streams you're counting. Like, I'm not looking at streams, and where the hell else are they playing the videos at? On your website, on Twitter?
I mean, I guess you probably look at the Twitter amount of looks and Facebook ones if you want to put them on different platforms.
Yeah, but still though.
Hey, this cool ass Scott from the I Love 90s Music Podcast. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like it on the SOLC Network. You finna get all the real deal on the 90s, the 2000s, and the splash of that 80s. Do it right now, man, and I'll be your friend.